Well, hello, we're Vermipost. I'm Nick.
I'm Brooke. I'm Jordan.
Right.
And I'm Hassan, and I'm going to take you through a quick introduction of what our business is about. So Chicago is one of the busiest and wealthiest cities in the continental US, if not the world. And in Chicago, there's upwards of 7,000 restaurants and places to eat. And in each restaurant or food preparation facility, there's always pre and post food production waste. And as consumers, you can all know that once you're done eating, the leftovers, once they're out of sight, they're out of mind. You don't worry about them, and you don't really know where they go. The truth of the matter is they go to landfills, and they're viewed as valueless junk. They sit in landfills, and they rot away, and they degrade. That's where Vermipost comes in. We take that junk and turn it into value. What we're trying to do is to take the leftovers from restaurants and food facilities in the greater metropolitan Chicago area and turn it and use those leftovers in a way that is both environmentally sustainable and healthy for the food that we produce.
So according to the Environmental Protection Agency, food leftovers is the single largest component of the waste stream by weight in the United States. And the US alone spends over $1 billion a year just trying to take care of its food waste. So while all this food waste is accumulating in landfills, it's releasing methane. And methane is a more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So right now our landfills are accounting for approximately 20% of methane emissions. So while composting can't eliminate these emissions of methane, it's much better for your food waste to be going into composting than sitting in large piles in some landfill, because it can be reused in a sustainable manner to create healthy soil for the environment that your food can be grown from to give you healthier food as well. And additionally, in big cities like Chicago, there aren't landfills that are local and nearby for food waste to go to, so on top of methane emissions from the food decomposing as part of its natural process, you're also paying extra costs to export your food to other towns and cities so that they can take your food waste into landfills. So one of the benefits of composting is that it improves sanitation, public safety, and health, and this is largely in part through the suppression of plant diseases and pests. And another huge component of the benefits of our composting service is through its soil enrichment and the formation of humus. And humus is an organic component of the soil that's formed by decomposition of leaves and other plant materials by soil microorganisms. And this humus is very rich and full of nutrients, and so it helps to promote higher yields of agricultural crops, and is full of carbon from the naturally degrading organic materials. So this will create cation exchange resins in the soil, and it allows negatively charged ions and metals to be taken out by the soil, and it holds onto these, and it prevents all of these chemicals and things that can be from fertilizer components or just chemicals that are dumped into the land from going into runoff water that's then taken up by plants that you consume as well. So overall, this can help to promote better physical structure of the soil because it'll be more absorbent and hold on to water better. And it creates a better microenvironment for the plants and organisms in the soil. So our composting service will help to provide benefits to farmers and gardeners through the reduction of the need of water and fertilizers and pesticides when they're growing their foods. And it also enables consumers to buy locally to reduce travel costs of their food and help keep their food a lot more fresh when it's delivered to them. So if you can just imagine local farmers producing their crops through the use of our composted soil, it's going to be very rich. People can, and they'll see these benefits because they won't need as much water, they won't need as much fertilizers and pesticides. So it's going to be a lot easier for them, and they're going to be creating a lot healthier food. So that's going to benefit the supermarkets and restaurants and consumers that are all purchasing and eating these forms of produce. So you're not only getting healthier food, but it can be grown a lot closer to you to reduce costs, and your food's going to hold on to its nutrients. So just to know that you're buying your food locally, it's organic, it's full of nutrients, you're helping the environment because it's grown in a lot healthier soil. And this is all just through the reuse of food waste to create humus and composted soil. What do you have to lose? And here's just a photo of the type of red worms that we would use in our composting process.
So what is Vermipost? We are a regional composting company that serves the greater Chicago area. We have 2 sites within the city limits, one on the west side, one on the south side. This will ensure that we are no more than a few miles away from the businesses we serve and the consumers we sell our products to. This will greatly reduce our transportation costs. Now, what do we do? We're taking what most of you perceive as garbage and turning it into products. And we're basically mimicking biological systems that are going on in the soil right outside the building right now. We're going to use red worms to compost this food waste, and it's going to turn into a potent organic fertilizer with worm castings. And with that, we plan on using passive solar greenhouses that use the power of the sun's rays to heat them, which will provide season extension for us, and we will grow a variety of culinary herbs and fresh produce. Now with these hoop houses, it'll give us season extension. We'll be able to grow in the early spring and late fall, which virtually no other fresh produce will be in the city at those times, which will allow us to fetch a market premium and ensure our profitability. Now, the urban dynamic economy of Chicago is ever changing, and in order for us to keep up with that, we have to be as well. So we can expand and diversify our company both in its inputs and outputs. So input-wise, we can expand to incorporate coffee grounds from coffee shops, newspaper and magazines from publishers, boxes from warehouses and any business that gets frequent shipments, spoilages from supermarkets, and leaves and grass clippings from the residential neighborhoods. And as far as our outputs goes, we can diversify what we're selling to fit the market. Now, we can sell a few forms of compost: a stable, well-matured compost, a quote-unquote hot compost, which has more volatile nutrients in it, and as well as a compost tea, where you steep the compost, and it's great for hydroponic growing systems. We can also diversify the produce we're producing to incorporate low-maintenance perennials and even livestock eventually if we wanted to. Now, there's a few discrepancies that we have to make clear with the businesses that we're providing our service to. We need specific waste receptacles. They have to be void of any plastic or animal products. Now, obviously plastic, it's not going to degrade for a long time, and it really won't offer that much nutrients for us, so that can't be in there. And animal products, except for eggshells, those make for good compost, but other animal products like grease and meat will attract pests. Now, 2 other aspects of our business plan is education and good public relations. The educational component, we want to encourage composting on the individual level throughout the city and get as many people composting as possible. So we'll have educational material on our website, brochures, even workshops to tell people how to compost. And as far as the good public relations, we want our business to be associated with an environmentally friendly business plan, the local economy, and fresh produce. So when a business is using our services like a restaurant, they could say, we use Vermipost on their menu, or right outside in the front of the business, and that'll attract customers that are like-minded in the way we do our business. So they are thinking about the environment, the local economy, and eating fresh and healthy produce, so that'll attract those customers to those businesses and help, help increase their profits as well.
So this is another photo of an example of a greenhouse that would be solar powered, as Nick described our hoop houses as being.
So once expanded, we want to be able to cater to the over 7,000 restaurants, supermarkets, bars, and cafeterias in the Chicago area. But our initial target is going to be 500 large-scale businesses that we can create a relationship with and establish a reputation with. They're going to have to sign a contract, and once they sign the contract, we're going to provide them with the waste receptacle that they will put their compostable goods in. And then we will collect those as needed, and once those have been composted and we use that material to grow our own organic goods, such as the herbs and the produce, we are going to sell those back to those restaurants and those large-scale businesses at a competitive price. Currently, it costs about $3,645 a year to empty a 1-yard waste container, and it costs even more than that for an 8-yard waste container. So businesses, by having us pick up their waste for free, that compostable waste, they are going to be saving loads of money by being able to reduce their actual trash receptacle size. There are also multiple tax breaks and tax credits for businesses who recycle and compost unused products. And as Nick stated earlier, the public is also going to have access to this through education, through being able to bring us their waste, through buying the goods that we are able to produce with this waste, including that produce and those herbs, along with the compost, the worm castings, and things like that. The budget in front of you says that it's going to be about $709,000 as the startup. $709,000 is the startup costs. And then for the monthly expenses, it's going to be utilities and labor. All other costs are negligible, which gives us a high chance of profitability.
Analyzing these market trends is an absolutely crucial part to our business. What we recognize is that our product is not just a product but a service and information provided to you all through a variety of different media, such as the three prong that I think we're going to take down are going to be through the web, our website, through Facebook as well, and then of course through our own app, which we're going to create ourselves. How many of you here use iPhone apps every day to determine where you're going to eat, where you need to go, what you need to do for the day? I know that I do every single day. Perfect example of this is I find myself frustrated with what am I going to eat today? Use the Around Me app, figure out what I want to eat, figure out what's close by and what I'm hungry for. Vermipost can provide the same opportunity by using the businesses that have signed up with the contracts to show you what you're close to and what you can have and provide for your families. That's just for restaurants. Now we're talking about businesses that you want to go to that provide economically and environmentally safe choices for yourself, for your family, right then and there as well. The next choice would be to go to the supermarket. Right then and there, you're going to have an aisle that says grown vermipost. And you know that that's been grown by people in your community. That is the target that we want to take down. Community is the important factor. This is going to be a movement that the consumer doesn't even have to worry about. Just by choosing your product is pretty much the movement that you're becoming a part of. You know that you're becoming part of the community by choosing to be environmentally conscious and making the right choice for your grown produce, which we all know is going to taste better because it's going to be organic. From there, our entire image is about branding. When you walk down the street, you're going to see at these restaurants and these businesses are going to see our logo right then and there saying, get the most out of compost, support Vermipost, right there at the window. When you go to a menu, often they'll try to provide that as well to let you know that they make the right choice as well, that they're trying to be environmentally and economically safe and smart. For the kids.
Original artwork right there.
This is actually original artwork by Nick. And that's that.
All right, good job. Got a few minutes for questions.
Yes,
So,
sir.
right now, as you said, like the landfills are pretty far outside of Chicago, so that's a long distance to travel. But the landfills are outside of Chicago for a reason. Like, don't you think people are gonna protest having decomposing material in their city, especially with a name like Vermipost, when you think like seagulls and vermin all over Chicago?
Well, here's the thing. If composted correctly, there is no odor associated with it. So that's why composting is different than a landfill. We'll be turning it and applying water to it to make sure the microbial activity is very vivacious in there and it will really control the odor. You will be able to go right up to the pile and smell it and you won't smell the odor if it's done correctly and we have the know-how to do it.
And we're not a landfill. We don't deal with landfills. We're
That's
trying
the
to
big
Right,
difference
right.
here, is that there is no, we do this today in local communities all the time, Nick is one of the
Yeah.
suppliers of this.
I know you said that with collecting the scraps, you can't have any animal product, but your target market would be for restaurants, and so do you expect them to sort out each plate that comes back, you know, here's the meat, here's the vegetable, or how do you expect to separate?
I can take that, that's easy. I mean, when you prepare food, you don't prepare food, you prepare food separately and then you put it all together and mix it afterwards. The food product waste is something that can be easily differentiated afterwards, like right vegetables right there and meat on the other side. But for when you talk about pre-consumer waste.
Most waste is pre-prepared, like they're doing prep. So eggshells, everything that goes into making like a salad beforehand, there's a lot of waste that goes there. So that would be our primary. And then after, if you can separate them, that's great. You can go ahead and put them in the bin. But if not, then we don't. It's fine. You can throw them away.
I've never been a chef, but I imagine that, in a large institutionalized food preparation business, such as a restaurant, the chefs, they prepare all the food on the table, and then they have like a very efficient way, they just kinda, they prepare it and switch it off into the garbage, and they don't even look at what they're throwing out, it's waste, it goes in the garbage.
They do though, like, they're not that negligent, and they would be incentivized to use our service because we would save them money. So, let's say they are that negligent, then if we say, okay, if you're not that negligent, you'll save $3,000 a year from waste, rather than paying for waste bins, then it's like, hey, okay, start.
And really, it doesn't even matter if the chefs, this is the owners. The owners are gonna see the huge cost benefit analysis of this, and they're gonna tell the chef, do not waste this product. You don't wanna spend an extra $2,000 taking out your garbage because you're too lazy to throw away his vegetables and throw away the
And it also depends on what they're preparing, like a salad. Like you said, you're not gonna, when you're cutting up lettuce, a lot of the stalks of the lettuce, they're making a big salad for the day, that's not gonna go, they can keep that separate and easily throw that into our waste receptacle. When it's like when they're processing their meat and stuff, yeah, that'd be more challenging, but that's gonna go in the garbage anyway.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'm confused. So your business is compost, right? So you guys are creating the compost.
Yes, we're composting and we're using a passive solar greenhouse on a track to grow mainly culinary herbs because that has the highest market
Okay, so
value.
you guys are growing the vegetables with the compost and selling them to the restaurants.
And we're gonna have tons of compost because of all the businesses we're collecting from, so we'll be able to sell the compost in multiple forms, as well as, and it's with worm castings, so there's a difference between compost without worm castings and compost with worm castings. It's a little more potent. And we will be selling the worms too. Those also have a lot of farmers and other people who are composting are interested in getting red worms.
Okay, so did you guys factor in your, the buildings you'd be needing to grow all of the
Yeah.
produce?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two sites. One is just a composting site. It's a
Okay.
little smaller. We factored in trucks, bulldozers, because it's going to be a lot of scraps that we have to turn a lot. And then we have another site that's going to have the hoop house and has a building for washing and packaging and all that stuff.
We have a headquarters site in the south side, which is like pretty large, and then another one is like an annex little sister site that will just help us with navigating, like picking up orders and stuff.
So you can find a building in Chicago big enough to compost waste from 500 restaurants
did.
for
Well,
under
it's not-
$700,000, which is your total startup
You
cost?
don't need a compost inside. It's going to be composted outside.
We're not buying a building. All we needed
Okay,
to find
so-
was an empty lot. So we found lots that were conducive to what we needed. So we didn't have to, we actually didn't buy, all we did was buy the property. And then we
Okay.
take care of that. There's no building associated and.
But
there's-
even the
Well,
property,
okay.
like that's.
I mean, the property on the south side and the west side is not inner city. I think you guys are thinking
Or I
about.
just mean like the cost of the property. I would think it would be fairly expensive inside
Yeah,
of
about
Chicago.
$300,000. That's
okay.
why our startup cost was $700,000.
Yeah.
Now, I know there, like depending on where you are, there's a lot more, people appreciate composting differently. So around here, people are like, yeah, that's awesome, but I can just imagine in a bigger city, some people might be like, ooh, that's gross, I don't wanna know about that. So do you think that would have negative effects on businesses that are advertising that they use your product?
Well, and that's up to how the business sells it, and that's why a big component of our company is education. And we're gonna have materials, we're gonna have workshops, we're gonna sell the worms so they can vermipost themselves. And once people start to understand, that's gonna create this movement, and they're gonna be like, wow, like I wanna be a part of this, and it's not gross, it is a bunch of worms crawling around in a pile of crap, but that's a good thing, you know? And for some people, it sounds gross at first, but that's the thing, we want to educate them, and that's really going to make a long-lasting change in the city of Chicago and really reduce the environmental impact.
And also, while inner city people might be so familiar with composting, the fact that we're producing all organic foods, organics are a big part of bigger cities now, and people are wanting to be more healthy and purchase those, so I think that'll be a really good positive aspect of this business to encourage them.
And it's more economically efficient to move into a market that there are not that many competitors rather than going somewhere in the Midwest where it's saturated already. So if you're going to Chicago, like we're not selling composting, we're selling the idea of taking waste, taking non-value and turning it into value. So we don't have to tell people, oh yeah, we take worms and stuff. No, we take your trash and we make it into soil. That's essential, that's what it is. And put in that respect, it's pretty fun. Easy.
We think that basically it's due to a lot of people thinking that composting is landfill when it's not.
We don't even have to use the word compost.
Okay, so we'll stop